Morning, guys. I just want to have a quick look at Sol this morning. The main reason is obviously a lot of the focus has been on ETH. I think what's most likely going to happen is if we think FBT, I'm not going to do a whole video on ETH again because I just did one the other day. But basically, the thought process is if FBTC has bottomed. Give me one sec. I just got to plug something in. If BTC has bottomed, F being the second largest market cap, I do believe that F bottoming and going on its run is probably going to take away from Sol, having been the opposite of what happened on the way up for Sol, with Sol having taken away from F. And I just still think there's quite a few things lining up for Sol here. Potentially having topped already. So I think if we look at this and we think that Sol has got a five-wave decline, a five-wave rise here. Obviously, it didn't quite make prior all-time highs, but as I have mentioned before, when we look at market cap, because of inflation, it actually did make an all-time high. I do think there's a few worrying signs for Sol here, for the top being in. Obviously, I've made a video saying this before already, but I just wanted to reiterate that. If we see a nice five-wave sort of rise here on Sol from the bear market lows, not only do we see that sort of that 5 up, but from this fifth wave high, we can also see a 5-wave decline, like so, and now a 3-wave move up, like so. Went a little bit higher than the 61.8. I dare say if I measure this, it'll probably end up being the 0.78 fib, which is also quite common. And now we've started coming off again. So this has not risen in 5 waves. It's declined in 5 waves. It's starting to struggle here. So I do think that there's a really, really high chance that this is going to end up being a macro lower high for Sol USD, and that this will probably chop around and ultimately come down and take out these levels down here. Now, whether or not it goes straight down or just chops around for a few months and ends up doing something like this, and then recovering again, and then sort of coming off again, and then recovering again and coming up, I think it'll end up being something that ends up being a slow bleed and will ultimately end up looking something like this. And I do think that while it potentially distributes and chops around within this sort of period here, I think that will be the time in which F continues to rally into new highs and completely just, smokes everything. If we look down at Sol F, as mentioned in the chats multiple times, Sol F right now is currently, as it stands, going to be closing the week within the next 24 hours as a huge engulfing. There's multiple bear divs on this as well. So I do think that, the market is telling us that Sol is done, Sol is exhausted, and it is time for F to play catch up, which will probably be the last leg of the bull market. I think that will coincide with Bitcoin probably also making another high, and F just outperforming Bitcoin, and F having a blow off top. So I think there's quite a few signs here, basically saying that Sol has exhausted. It's time for F to play catch up. Bitcoin probably has one more leg in it up to 100K. I think that's going to most likely be the last leg as well, and I think F will outperform Bitcoin and make obviously much higher highs, and Sol has probably topped. Obviously that's my personal opinion. A lot of people are emotionally attached to Sol, obviously myself included, because we did start longing this in the 20s constantly the entire way up. We've been Sol maxis for basically the majority of the bull market. So actually, turning on it and starting to think that it's over is emotionally hard to do, but that is kind of how I'm feeling at the moment. I do think, there's quite a strong chance that Sol has topped and F is about to go on its final run into fresh all-time highs. And yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. I think, there's a few warning signs on the USD pair. Obviously, Sol F looks horrible. So yeah, I think, if there's still some people, stuck in Sol. I mean, if you really, really like Sol, and you're in this for the long term, I do think that obviously this won't be the last bull market. I think once Sol does this correction and this C wave down, correcting this 5 wave rise, it's potentially going to go on another bull run. Like I think, in terms of the technology, I think there's still going to be, plenty more bull runs, left to come. I think institutions have only just come, so things are going to start playing out a little bit different. But I do think that there's that at least this cycle high on Sol is probably done, and we're probably starting the ABC down, correcting this rise, and then once that happens, this will probably sort of maybe come down a little bit lower, then it probably accumulate for a bit, who knows how long, and then start its next rise. But at least in the period of the next few months, I think it's time to move on from Sol. I think the daily, the weekly, there's just nothing really appealing about this chart at all on the USD pair, and especially not on the Bitcoin and the F pair. Yeah, I really do think Sol's done at this point. Yeah, I thought I'd just do another little video just to reiterate that, because that's kind of my stance on Solana for now. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on Sol this morning, guys. Cheers. Bye.